Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to discuss about anti-anginal and anti-ischemic drug. All these conditions that is related with heart. So whatever the condition generated, whatever the disease condition that is generated with heart due to certain issues that we are going to discuss today, and which particular treatments are required to treat all this condition. So that is all about anti-anginal and anti-ischemic drugs. But before that, we start with what is angina pectoris and what is ischemic heart disease condition. Once we know about all this condition, then we can do treatment with all this condition, and for that anginal as well as anti-ischemic heart drugs are used for the condition. Here, first we start with the definitions. This is first we start with ischemia. Ischemia, it is nothing but it's mainly related with the blood supply to the particular part of the body, so that a particular part of body can do function normally. So this is the basic need of our body system. If blood is not in a proper amount, or if it though it is in a proper amount but it cannot reach to particular site to carry out different function, then also it creates a lot of problem. So here basically two things: first, inadequate blood is there, and second one is inadequate blood supply. So always what happen whenever we do some work, in that case that particular organ needs a particular amount of blood. So blood is there, but if it is not reach to that particular site in that particular amount at particular time, then also such condition may cause some disease condition. Second thing, most important, blood supply is fine, but oxygenated blood, that is the requirement. So ischemia, it is due to inadequate blood supply to a part of the body, even to the point of complete deprivation. So second one, that is ischemic heart disease, that is also known as IHD. So it is defined as acute or chronic form of cardiac disability arising from imbalance between the myocardial supply and demand for oxygenated blood. If you remember, if patient have a particular problem with the chest pain, or sometimes like tingling, numbness of that particular organ, fingers and all that, so and sometimes swellings also observed. In that case, doctor says ki yes, particular heart is not work, or pumping of blood is not, your heart works like 40% 30%. So this all are the condition that is related with heart, is known as ischemic heart disease, because in that blood supply is not in a proper amount. If though blood is a sufficient amount in our body system, but the supply at the time of work, that is not in proper amount. And the second one, oxygen, insufficiency of oxygen. So this all these conditions are known as angina pectoris as well as myocardial infarction. They are all related with the heart only. So combinedly it is known as ischemic heart disease condition. Second one, that is angina pectoris. So it is nothing but a clinical syndrome of IHD only, and that is resulted from transient myocardial ischemia. So how we can say it is correct, we can say okay, this is particular condition. So some pinpoint characteristics are there to identify such condition. So it is characterized by pain in the substernal or precordial region of the chest, which is aggravated by an increase in the demand of the heart, and relieved by decrease in the work of the heart. As I told you, कि like doctor says कि your heart is working up to 40% only. It means the normal functioning capacity of heart, that is decrease, and this decrease amount, that is because of less amount of blood supplied to that particular organ. So often pain radiated to left arm, neck, jaw or right arm. So this is all about the basic terminology that is all related with the heart disease conditions. So whatever I have told you, this is based beautifully represented in this particular diagram. You can see picture of heart is there, where left and right coronary artery is there, a normal functioning, then vein and capillaries where myocardial oxygen supply and demand is picturized. Now, based on this particular blood supply amount and it reaches to that particular part, various types of types of anginal conditions arise. So types of angina, if we talk about that, then here in this particular presentation you can see a normal endothelial cell is there, and then its comparison with the different types of angina. Means it's a progressive state of anginal condition. Initially it is like a stable angina, first type, then what type of endothelial cell condition, then it is converted into like unstable angina, then variant angina. So here in this diagram you can see all different types of endothelial cell condition is well explained and compared with the normal cell. So first we start with the normal lumen, where endothelial cell having particular condition. So in that patent lumen is there, where normal endothelial function are going on, and platelet aggregation that is inhibited in normal endothelial cell. But stable angina is a condition where in this particular case you can see this is a plaque formation started. Plaque is nothing but the clotting of fat molecules and all that, so that whenever it present in a particular amount, it clot at the particular area, so that blood cannot easily pass through that particular arteries or vein. So in that case blood has to work little bit hard, little bit more as compared to the normal condition, and so that it create a pressure through the wall of that particular arteries or vein. Or sometimes blood passes through, but that blood having lipid particles, fat particles, so that fat particles clotted at particular portion, and the clot of that particular fat or lipid particles create a plaque. So plaque is nothing but the one type of blockage. So in this stable angina, plaque formation is started. So lumen that is somewhat narrow by plaque, and inappropriate vasoconstriction takes place. Normal vasoconstriction that is related with the tachycardia and all that. So if you want to decrease the blood pressure, in that case vasodilators are used. But due to this plaque formation, as I told you, blood has to work little bit hard, create a pressure. So vasoconstriction, that is vasoconstriction, as well as vasodilator, that is the normal functioning. But if a condition of endothelial cell is not proper or normal, in that case the function will change, that is in an inappropriate manner. Now in C you can see unstable angina. So condition one by one from A to D, if we go from A to D, then condition will be little bit worse and worse. So in C unstable angina, you can see this particular plaque formation that is also present in stable angina, but in unstable angina that plaque will rupture and it passes through and it spread into this particular endothelial cell and convert into plaque rupture. Then platelet aggregation is there, thrombus formation also arise, and this is like unopposed vasoconstriction. Then moving to variant type of angina, here you can see no overt plaque and intense vasospasm. Means it's like that constriction that is out of control, झटका वागवा જેને કહી શકાય. So this is all different types of angina, and in this particular case normal endothelial cell and situation of that endothelial cell for this different type of angina. Now conditions are arised. Now what we can do with that to treat with? So here classification is given, which particular class of drugs they are much more effective to treat such kind of condition. In that, first nitrates are used, that is of two type. First one is short acting and second one is long acting. In short acting compounds, particularly nitrates, example is glyceryl trinitrate or nitroglycerin is used. Then long acting drugs, that is isosorbide dinitrate and isosorbide mononitrate. And the third one, that is erythritol tetranitrate. So second one is beta blocker. Yes, why beta blockers are used in this particular condition? As we have seen in antihypertensive agent, vasodilator, because this particularly beta blockers having vasodilatory effect. Some are acting through alpha or beta blocking, whereas some are the direct vasodilator, so that whatever the elevated blood pressure conditions arise, that comes into normal case. So beta blockers examples are propranolol, then metoprolol and atenolol. Third is calcium channel blockers. See, all this particular category of drug, one or the other way, they fall into various heart disease condition. This particular class used in antihypertensive also. This will be also used in antiarrhythmia, as well as this is used for anti-angina and angina pectoris also, or we can say ischemic heart disease condition. So calcium channel blocker, in that first chemical class, that is phenylalkylamine, verapamil is a drug. Second, benzothiazepine, in that diltiazem is a drug. Then third one, dihydropyridine, nifedipine, nimodipine, licidipine, lercanidipine and benidipine. So these are the drugs used for the treatment under this calcium channel blocker category, CCBs. Fourth one is potassium channel opener, and the most important drug of this category is nicorandil. Then fifth one, that is miscellaneous category, where dipyridamol, then trimetazidine, then renolazine and ivabradine, oxyfenrin, antihistaminic class of drug. Now basically how this particular drug act and working style, that is all under pharmacology of nitrates. So nitroglycerin, first we start with, and the characteristic. So preload reduction. Preload, it means what? When it is like plaque formation takes place, right? So in that case, blood pressure will increase. Due to that, blood creates a pressure on the wall of that particular arteries and vein. So that normal case is like blood can easily pass through that in a normal functioning. But in case of plaque formation, it will create a pressure and load. Pressure is nothing but the load. So load is increased. So that load can be reduced with this particular nitroglycerin, and that is defined as, or that is known as preload reduction. Even preload and afterload both are reduced with this nitroglycerin. Then third is redistribution of coronary flow. Fourth one is relief in angina. So this is about the functioning for nitrate. Then pharmacokinetic, if we are talking, then nitrates are lipid soluble, well absorbed from buccal mucosa, intestine and skin. Therapeutic nitrates, and is available in form that provide a range of duration of action from 10 to 20 minutes, that is via sublingual, and if it is given via transdermal, then it shows action up to 8 to 10 hours. So depending on the requirement, we have to choose the particular delivery system. So they undergo extensive first pass metabolism in liver. See, what is first pass metabolism? It means, suppose for example, if we use paracetamol for a fever condition, and the dose is like 500 milligram or 650 milligram, but it doesn't mean that it's a level chem is 500 or 650 means all 500 mg or 650 mg of that paracetamol is used to treat fever condition. No. But when you take this particular drug, it undergoes first pass metabolism, that is about like 75%. It means 575, that is around 325. So this 325 mg of amount, that is completely waste, undergo metabolism effect, and what left, that is only 175 mg of drug. So the actual function, actual pharmacological effect to relieve pain or to relieve fever, that is only due to that 175 mg of paracetamol. So whenever we select or we choose dose, then we need to consider all this aspect, and due to that reason, ADME is most important. ADME is nothing but absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. So first of all, we need to go for all this ADME of any new drug. Also, we have to make a profile or create a database, and based on that, a particular dosage form, dose ratio is selected. So they undergo extensive first pass metabolism in liver, rapidly denitrated by glutathione reductase and mitochondrial aldehyde dehydrogenase. So this is the function and how this particular drug works in particular delivery form. So here this is the mechanism, and it's well explained in this flow chart diagram, where nitrate that interacts with endothelial cell, combination of these two produce NO, that is nitrate oxide, and so it interact with guanylyl cyclase, so that it produce GTP, and GTP further produce cyclic GMP, and this cyclic GMP is there that activate cGMP dependent protein kinases enzyme, and then it will trigger or act on MLC phosphate, and this particular phosphate act on myosin, and this myosin LC, and so relaxation takes place. So all this thing given in the right hand side, when you take nitrate, that will produce NO radicals, and that NO radical responsible for the activation of guanylate cyclase enzyme. This cyclase enzyme responsible for accumulation of cyclic GMP, and then this cyclic GMP responsible for activation of cGMP dependent kinases that triggers dephosphorylation of myosin light chain, that is mentioned over here, myosin LC light chain, and that is responsible for vasodilation effect. And once vasodilation takes place, that reduce the preload, and further this reduce workload and decrease O2 consumption. So this is nothing but the mechanism of action for organic nitrates. If it is produced or if you take, then it reduce excessive load or vasodilation effect to relieve all these symptoms. Now tolerance, that is due to or may result from a reduced capacity of vascular smooth muscle to convert nitroglycerin to NO. Then multiple mechanisms have been proposed to account for nitrate tolerance, including volume expansion, then neurohumoral activation. Third is cellular depletion of sulfhydryl groups and the generation of free radicals. And the fifth one, that is inactivation of mitochondrial aldehyde dehydrogenase, an enzyme implicated in biotransformation of nitroglycerin. Then adverse drug reaction for this category, that is nothing but the most common toxic effect of nitrates are the responses that is evoked by vasodilatation. First one, this include tachycardia. This is from the baroreceptors reflex. Then the second one is orthostatic hypotension, a direct extension of the vasodilator effect. And the third is thrombing headache from meningeal artery vasodilation. It means what? Okay, here in this particular case, blood pressure should be, or blood pressure must be decreased. So when we take this particular, that causes vasodilation, but sometimes if due to overdose of this or a chronic dose that you have taken but it's not clear from the body, and again you take multiple dose, side effect. So due to that, what happened, okay, it is used for to reduce blood pressure, but overuse of it reduces blood pressure in such a way so that this causes all this type of orthostatic hypotension. Now the drug interaction, that is nitrate with sildenafil citrate, can lead to severe hypotension. So whenever particular antihypertensive or any other treatments are going on, in that case we must need to admit all this history to our doctor, so that he or she has idea कि yes, you are already taking this particular drug, so that he can advise you to take some other drug that cannot be interact with already taking drugs. So whenever treatment is going on and doctor prescribe you something, so always you have to tell him or her about the history. Okay, I am using this particular drug since last few months, so accordingly he or she will prescribe you particular drugs. Otherwise they may cause a severe side effects due to drug interaction. So here one example is given, okay, if you are taking sildenafil citrate and doctor prescribe you to take nitrates, and he or she has no idea that you are taking this particular, and suppose he prescribe nitrates, in that case interaction takes place and lead to severe hypotension and myocardial infarction, and even some of the cases death also reported. Then next is the uses. Here in this uses, mainly it is used for angina pectoris, then acute coronary syndromes. Then third is myocardial infarction. Fourth one is CHF, that is congestive heart failure. Then acute LVF. Then it is also used for biliary colic. Sixth one, that is esophageal spasm, and the seventh one, that is also used in the case of cyanide poisoning. Here in right hand side, it's well explained, if you take sodium nitrate in body 10 ml of 3% sodium solution, then what exactly how exactly it work into the body system. So in that case, sodium nitrite that interact with hemoglobin, it's present in our body, so that will produce methemoglobin. Then this methemoglobin interact with cyanide, that will produce methemoglobin. Further, this is interact with sodium thiosulfate 50 ml 25% solution IV. So this together produce methemoglobin plus sodium thiocyanate, and it is excreted in the urine. Second category, that is beta blockers. These beta blockers in that adrenergic receptor antagonists are effective in reducing the severity and frequency of attack of exertional angina, and in improving survival in patients who have had an myocardial infarction. Then these agents are not useful for vasospastic angina, and if used in isolation may worsen the condition. So here some limitations are also there. Examples like timolol, metoprolol, atenolol and propranolol have been shown to exert cardioprotective effects. The effectiveness of adrenergic receptor antagonist in the treatment of exertional angina, that is attributable primarily to a fall in myocardial infarction, O2 consumption at rest and during exertion. Then the decrease in myocardial O2 consumption is due to a negative chronotropic effect, particularly during exercise, and a negative inotropic effect, and a reduction in arterial blood pressure, particularly systolic blood pressure during exercise. So this is all about the beta blockers, which particular beta blockers are used, how it works, and what happened with this particular, and in which particular case this drug are used. Then third one, that is calcium channel blockers. Here mechanism of action is given for that. Calcium channel blockers block voltage gated L type calcium channels, and the calcium channels most important in cardiac and smooth muscles. This is also act by decreasing calcium influx during action potential in a frequency and voltage dependent manner. This agent reduces intracellular calcium concentration and muscle contractility. Now all of you know that what is the correlation between calcium concentration and muscle contractility. So you know that when calcium level is there, so that triggers myosin and actin protein that is present in body. Once this is activated, that will directly related with muscle contractility. So this is about mechanism of action for calcium channel blocker. If we block calcium channel In return, this happen. Now in this diagram, you can see the function to treat this particular condition, and this is taken from one particular review article. Here in this particular, you can see how drugs are acting and how this is responsible to produce vasodilation effect. Now adverse drug reaction for this class. The calcium channel blockers cause constipation, then pretibial edema, then nausea, flushing and dizziness. More serious adverse effects include heart failure, AV blockage and sinus node depression. These are the most common with verapamil and least common with dihydropyridine. Then next one is uses. Verapamil and diltiazem may be used to treat AV, nodal arrhythmia. Then second is calcium blockers are effective as prophylactic therapy. Then third is it is effort and vasospastic in both effort and vasospastic angina. Then nifedipine has also been used to avoid acute angina, and in severe atherosclerosis angina, these drugs are particularly valuable when combined with nitrates. So here all these drugs are used to treat such type of condition, but it is more effective when you give it in combination with nitrates. In addition to well established uses in angina, hypertension and supraventricular tachycardia, some of these agents are used in migraine, preterm labor, stroke and Raynaud's phenomena. So this is all the condition. Not only these particular conditions are well defined and peculiar, but nowadays along with this is used also in migraine, preterm labor, stroke and Raynaud phenomena. Next one is potassium channel opener. Example is Nicorandil. This is a novel anti-anginal drug activities, that is ATP sensitive potassium channel leading to hyperpolarization of vascular smooth muscle. It also acts as a NO donor, nitric oxide donor, and relaxes blood vessels by increasing cyclic GMP. Coronary blood flow is increased and dilatation of both epicardial conducting vessels and deeper resistance vessel, as well as mitochondrial potassium means K plus ATP channel opening exert myocardial protection by preconditioning, which appears to reduce myocardial stenting, then arrhythmia and infarct size. So this is all about potassium channel opener, particularly with Nicorandil. Then side effect of this that is most common is flushing, palpitation, then weakness, headache, dizziness. Second one that is large painful aphthous ulcer of mouth. Now for the treatment of this, apart from this very well known common category of drugs, some of the new drugs that is also available in market. Then number one is ranolazine. It appears to act mainly by reducing a late prolonged sodium current in myocardial cell. Then this decrease in intracellular sodium that causes an increase in calcium expulsion via Na/Ca transporter and a reduction in cardiac force and work. Then this ranolazine is moderately effective in angina prophylaxis. Second drug that is dipyridamole. It is a powerful coronary dilator. It increases total coronary flow by preventing uptake and degradation of adenosine. Second one that is it dilates resistance vessel and abolishes autoregulation. It also inhibits platelet aggregation. Then it is not useful as an anti-anginal drug, but used for prophylaxis of coronary and cerebral thrombosis in post myocardial infarction and post stroke patient. So this is all about the second drug, that is dipyridamole. Now in next one, that is trimetazidine. It is a novel anti-anginal drug that acts by non-hemodynamic mechanism. This particularly anginal frequencies reduce and exercise capacities increase. Then mechanism of action for this particular drug still it's not known, but it may prove cellular tolerance to ischemia by two ways. Then one is inhibiting mitochondrial long chain 3 ketoacyl CoA thiolase LC3-KAT. This is a key enzyme that is responsible for fatty acid oxidation regulation, and it increases glucose metabolism in myocardium. So this is the probable mechanism number one, but it's not sure that it acts by this too. Few more possibility for this, that is limiting intracellular acidosis and sodium and calcium accumulation during ischemia. Then third one is protecting against O dot, means free radical form of oxygen that induces membrane damage because it's highly reactive one. In this you can see ischemic heart disease. This is given in a flow chart in one slide. So starting with ischemic heart disease, that is of two types. One is chronic coronary artery diseases, that is known as stable angina. Second one is acute coronary syndromes. So if chronic coronary artery disease, stable angina is there, then effective drugs are aspirin, then beta antagonist, nitrate, calcium 2 channel blocker, ACE inhibitors, and ranolazine. Whereas acute coronary syndromes are there, then used drug is aspirin, beta antagonist, and nitrates. If with these three, then that is divided into two parts, that is no ST elevation on ECG, unstable angina, or non-ST elevation myocardial infarction. Second category, that is ST elevation on ECG is there, then ST elevation myocardial infarction takes place. If it is the condition, then it is further divided into thrombolysis and angioplasty. If thrombolysis is there, then thrombolytic agent heparin clopidogrel is there. With angioplasty is there, then heparin, GP2B and 3A antagonist clopidogrel drug is used. Whereas in non-ST elevation on ECG condition, where heparin and GP2B and 3A antagonist clopidogrel is used, in any of condition, whether stable or non-stable angina, so it directly affects on post myocardial infarction management. And so possible addition of this statin, ACE inhibitors, and aldosterone receptor antagonist. So here in one slide it's beautifully explained about pharmacological management of acute coronary syndrome. So this is all about the basics of angina and which particular chemical class of drugs they are used to treat the condition, with which different types of mechanism and all that, how we can manage with acute syndrome or the coronary syndrome chronic condition. So here this is all about the management of acute coronary syndrome. Next part of this chemical classification, synthesis, and SAR, that will be we will continue with the second part of this.